Their last 4, although the last away win was against Leeds United, so they can mix it with the top teams in the division. Norwich playing in their traditional yellow and green home kit, Hull in their changed black and amber kits, going from right to left. Can tell you the two teams, Norwich unchanged from their 1-0 win against Swansea. As I'll break off because Pukki down the right hand side gets a low ball into the box, and it's Henriksen that's able to clear it. Norwich line up with Tim Krul in goal, back 4 of Max Aarons, Christoph Zimmermann, Ben Godfrey and Jamal Lewis, with Tom Trybull and Kenny McLean in midfield, Emi Buendia, Marco Stiepermann and Onel Hernandez, the creative threesome in behind Teemu Pukki up front. Hull line up with David Marshall in goal, back 4 of Todd Kane, Reece Burke, Liam Ridgewell and Eric Lehigh. Marcus Henriksen and Kevin Stewart will hold in midfield, with Jared Bowen, Jackson Irvine and Mark Pugh in behind their lone striker, Fraser Campbell. A minute and a half into this game as Norwich have possession at the back. Myself, Dan McCarthy and John Hogan taking you through the game this evening. And John, Norwich are a team that keep proving everyone wrong. Just when you think they're going to run out of steam, it wasn't a particularly convincing performance against Swansea, but they know how to get the job done.
Yeah, I think they're the best team in the division, bar none. But that doesn't mean to say that they get up this season. Unfortunately, what they've found themselves in is a three-way tussle. And so, it's about sticking with it. There's pressure on. It's all right playing when there's pressure off. This team put together with, all these sort of, decent German players. You might argue misfits. Well, they've come together nicely, haven't they? They've got some momentum, and sometimes that proves difficult to stop. There are 3 teams, though, that are the best in the division at the minute, and that includes the Blades. And something's got to give, because one of those is going to drop out. 2 will go up by right, and it looks like, perm 2 from 3. What Norwich can't do now with the pressure on, with those 2 teams winning last night, he's cough up, but they'll be feeling that pressure on them. It's a shame that they didn't play last night from their own viewpoint, because they'll have had a long night, coming an hour and thinking about this game and maybe overdoing it. Hull are not a bad team for a team that's coming on to them. Campbell's got pace about him. Jared Bowen keeps on scoring goals, and maybe they could unpick the lot tonight. Nigel Atkins knows what it takes to get a team up. And here you come, Hull now. Great ball across the face, and in the end, nobody could quite get on the end of that. But that's the threat they pose. And the other thing we said is that Norwich are not particularly tall. If you can get a few crosses in, then maybe you can hit the back of the net. Zimmerman 6'4", but Norwich are a small team actually.
Yep, they aren't the biggest. If Norwich do get the win, then we're back at status quo. But anything other than a win really would open things up. Norwich would go top if they got a point on virtue of goal difference, with those in Leeds just 2 points ahead of Sheffield United. A Norwich loss would mean it'd be Leeds top on 73, Norwich 72, Sheffield United 71, with the 2 other teams facing each other at Elland Road at the weekend. Norwich go to Rotherham, which on the face of it should be an easy game, but Rotherham are decent at home, as Norwich do have possession now. Try and play the ball into the feet of Onel Hernandez, but it's dispossessed, and now Hull can play it forward with Reece Burke. That's a nice ball to Campbell on the near side, but his touch isn't great, so Godfrey will go back now to Tim Krul. So Norwich do what they do so well, which is keep possession, play nice football. Here is Trybull, the anchor in midfield, forward to Pukki, who tried to roll it round the corner for the advancing Stiepermann, but no one was there to anticipate. And speaking from Hull's point of view, they're only 5 points away from the playoffs, 11th in the table, and probably a victim of the fact that it is so tight, because even though it's only 5 points, goal difference isn't great, and they've got quite a few teams to leapfrog if they want to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, the thing is, though, any team can do that, and what we've seen with Hull is that they can get on their own roll. They had a brilliant run, didn't they? midway through the season, and they were unbeatable. And here they are again, doing quite well, and they've won a free kick just at the edge of the area. So that was Bowen, who there'll be lots of teams looking at him. He's only a young kid, really, isn't he? He's 22, I think. But he's been scoring goals for fun this season. I think bigger things expected of him, but he did really well in and out movement, showing he's 2-footed, and he's won a free kick.
Yep, first set piece chance of the game. Try ball just bringing Bowen down. Needed no invitation to go to ground, and it is a little bit closer than I first thought, to be honest. It could be within shooting range if Bowen wants to fire it into the top corner, but they've got other options as well. They've got a fairly big team themselves. It will be Jared Bowen to shoot, and he smacks the crossbar, and it's gone out of play. Well, what an effort that was. Jared Bowen looking to add to his impressive goals tally, stepped up, and I don't think Krull was getting there at all, and it smacked the outside of the post and out for a goal kick.
Yeah, that's a great hit. You know what? Hits the goal frame, gets it up and over the wall, and he's trying to hit it in at that near post. Krull has not got that covered, but in the end, it just skims off the apex of post and crossbar. But that's a pretty good hit.
Yeah, very, very good hit indeed. Can tell you that there are other championship games going on, and already, I believe that was a 5-5 draw earlier in the season, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa. Well, it's already won a piece after just 8 minutes.
Wow, so, I did that 5-5 draw, brilliant. But don't tell me they're at it again. I mean, those two teams, they're sort of tailor-made for each other, really. Villa will sort of creep towards them and dominate, and they'll get hit by Lolly on the break. So, yeah, it's a good contest, that.
Yeah, well, it's Lolly that assisted Forest's goal. Colback getting the opener after 3 minutes, but John McGinn has just equalised for Villa. So already a barnstorming game at the City Ground. 0-0 in our featured game, 7 minutes in, but it'll be Hull that'll be the more pleased of the two sides so far. They've got a throw in fairly high up the park. Looks like it's going to be taking quite long on this left-hand side. Eric Lehigh does possess a long throw, playing at left back this evening as he hurls it into the box. Irvine meets it at the near post, heads it back, and Todd Kane didn't quite get there quick enough, but Hull will knock it forward again, this time with Ridgewell, headed on by Godfrey. Kane takes it forward, but the touch wasn't great from him. But Norwich just struggling to clear the lines at the moment. And
well, we talked about it, like a height, it makes everything a bit of a scramble. I mean, they've been doing fairly well in Godfrey nodding away a couple of times, but he's a bit small. I think he's only just about 6 foot, that kid. So, they need Zimmerman to step up, but there they use their footballing to get him out of jail. I'm impressed by how many bodies Hull keep high up the field, and here come Hull again. Into the box they go, but that's a poor ball, and Godfrey able to deal with that. They're definitely off the coach, aren't they, Hull? You can see how they set up. I think it's quite clever from Adkins. They're trying to play as many bodies up the field as they can. Norwich, I think, it's slightly a nervy start because, they've given the ball away about 3 or 4 times now.
Yeah, I think it's almost a no-lose situation for Hull as it's back with David Marshall. First chance for him to get involved in the game, clears it long, because no one expects them to get to the playoffs, but they're in no danger of going down as well. So they can approach the last 9 games of the season with a mentality of freedom, can Hull.
Exactly. I mean, this tonight, where are you going? Norwich, Carrow Road, you'll get nothing. It's a free hit, isn't it? Do you think he's told his men, Nigel Adkins, that they can't get anything? Well, don't believe that. They've started really well. Like we said, in mid-season, they went on an incredible run, didn't they? And, they what was it, about 10 games or something? But you know what? They just need to channel that. They could be in the playoffs. They could be that momentum team again. And I bet these players are feeling, right, if we could do that again. I don't know how or why they fell back off again, but they've made a pretty good start today.
They certainly have, and Norwich need to try and get into this game because most of the football has been played in their own half so far. They're trying to come forward now with Kenny McLean, former Aberdeen man who delivers a ball to Jamal Lewis. Did very well to control it and play it back inside. Here is Buendia. Buendia reverses the ball to Onel Hernandez in the box. He does have the pace to keep up with that. Up against Reece Burke. And he sells him a dummy. Hernandez left edge of the box, and then it's squared to Stiepermann, who crosses it into the area. Headed out by Hull and back now with Lewis, but that's probably Onel Hernandez's weakness, just that decision making as Stiepermann takes charge of the ball now. He's got freedom to run in the box. This is great from Marco Stiepermann, and Norwich have taken the lead. What a goal from the attacking midfielder. And he took the ball inside, the defending very suspect, but Stiepermann allowed to twist and turn and fires Norwich ahead.
Yeah, it's a great goal from Stiepermann, and he keeps on doing that this season. You know, you look at the team and it's actually full of goals. It was Buendia last time, Stiepermann this time. Before that, Hernandez had made a good break into the box. He couldn't quite finish it off. There's a lot of work for Stiepermann to do when he's at the edge of the area. He steps inside the challenger for Henriksen, I think. Then he cuts again. It's a good left foot finish.
It hasn't taken long, but Norwich have taken the lead, and to be perfectly honest, it's against the run of play. Hull have been the better side in the opening 10 minutes so far. Jared Bowen smacked the crossbar from a free kick, but the first real chance that the Canaries had to come forward, they've taken advantage. Slack play from Hull. Stiepermann was allowed to run from the left edge of the box inside, cuts inside the defender, and then smashes the ball home left-footed. Norwich 1, Hull 0.
You know, I look at Reece Burke's part in that, and I'm not over impressed with the start that he's made today. Hull have played all right. He's a work in progress as a centre back, though. In his youth career, you know, it seemed like the world was his oyster, wasn't it? Playing in Europe for was it West Ham early doors, and things haven't really kicked on for him. And he's just showed his back to Stiepermann. You know, I've got to say, it's great footwork, and well, here they go again, doing Norwich, but just one poor touch and from Hernandez, and Kane can just get a bite at that. But yeah, I mean, you know, for that goal, there were challenges dropping off all over. The first one was the skipper Henriksen, and he's probably thinking, well, he's not really my man. But you either do or you don't. You know, he didn't really go through the challenge, and I think it was Stewart just stood there waiting. And then the next thing is that Burke's got to make a decision. He turns his back on him and just allows him to cut from his right back onto his left foot. And then he's that close in. I mean, it's a good finish, but he didn't have to be great, did he? But nothing Marshall could do. But after a difficult start, that's exactly what the Canaries were after.
Yeah, it certainly is, and Hull won't be pleased with their role defensively in that goal. But it's a thought that kind of separates the teams at the top from those in mid-table. Norwich, one chance and one goal they've taken, and they're looking hungry already to get a second. Lehigh clears the ball, played forward by Tom Trybull as Norwich keep on going back to the top of the table as it stands. But of course, still very much early doors, as Nigel Adkins certainly won't be impressed by the defending for that. And equally disappointing with the fact that they started the better of the two sides as Norwich have a throw-in high up the park. Here is Max Aarons. Aarons with a delicate ball in field for Buendia. Can he pull it back? He can't quite. Ball almost looked like it went out for a goal kick, but the referee and linesman don't give anything. Hull clear it, but only as far as this right-hand side. Ball chipped forward this time. Buendia again tries to square the ball. It'll fall now to Stiepermann once more. Here he is, cuts inside, does the German. Thought he was going to go for the shot with his favoured left foot. It comes back to him fortuitously. Now with Hernandez. Hernandez shoots across David Marshall, parries it, and Buendia puts the ball in the back of the net. An absolute horror show from Hull's perspective, and Norwich have been gifted a second goal.
Yeah, if you defend like that, you're going to get nothing. I mean, initially, Hernandez let the ball roll across him, and I thought, well, that's terrible control, and he thought he was going to score. But when eventually the melee is not cleared by the whole defence, you just think, oh, well, you're inviting that onto yourself. You know, Norwich have had two decent attacks, and off we go. Failure to clear their lines, and it's simple 2-0.
Norwich have doubled their advantage in quick time thanks to Emi Buendia. It's absolutely woeful defending from Hull City. The ball is on the left edge of the box with Onel Hernandez. He received the ball from Marco Stiepermann, shot across. David Marshall got the save away, parried it onto Liam Ridgewell. Him and Marshall couldn't quite get their angle sorted. Parried the ball straight to Emi Buendia, who had the very simple task of tapping it into an empty net to make it Norwich 2, Hull 0.
Yeah, these are momentum goals, aren't they? You know, they're on the crest of a wave. You know, the one thing about it is the positivity, really. You know, and what I mean about that is, right, they haven't made a great start to the game, but everybody believes. You know, the crowd were on their feet as soon as they go over the halfway line. But then it's the amount of, yellow and green you see in the box. You know, you're counting up, but there's about 3 or 4 of them in the box at any given point. It's like, you know, if you can square that circle and keep on doing that, they may even do well in the Premier League. That's more difficult because they'll be playing a lot without the ball. But here, they're swarming on. You know, we talked about the attacking talent that they've got, and there are 4 attackers. You know, basically they're all wanting to get on it. They all can score goals, and they all are desperate to do that at the minute. So, full of confidence that they could go on, score a few more. Hull need to score next, don't they?
Yep, they certainly do. And there's a third goal at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest 1, Aston Villa 2. McGinn has got his second. I wonder what odds you'd get on another 5-all draw in that game.
1,000,000 to 1, I would have thought.
I think at the rate they're going, it's not going to be too far off. Birmingham 0, Millwall 1 in another championship game that's got a goal. There's also on this service coverage of Barcelona against Lyon and Bayern Munich against Liverpool. Both of those games 0-0 after the first leg, so crucial for them as Norwich have the ball in their own half. Lewis just able to clear it long. Touchdown now by Burke. Burke just waits to lump the ball forward, looking for Jared Bowen, headed away by Godfrey quite easily there. Henriksen nips in though, and he's running down the right hand side, but Jamal Lewis gets across and executes a really good tackle. Northern Ireland international who's just been named in their latest squad for the upcoming Euro 2020 qualifiers. Is 16 and a half minutes in, and well, just 7 minutes or so ago we were waxing lyrical about Hull going forward, really taking the game to Norwich, but that's how ruthless this division is. In double quick time, they've established a 2-goal lead as Hull try and put a cross into the area. Bowen up for Fraser Campbell as they do just enough to get it away. Didn't look too convincing by Tim Krul, but ball is now with Aarons on the far side, able to turn in field. Now taken forward by Tribal. Cross to Kenny McLean. McLean has a bit of space to run into. Instead, chooses to go backwards instead. Taken on by Zimmerman. And now with Tim Krul, and even at this early stage, just with the momentum that Norwich have got, you get the feeling Hull need to score pretty quickly before they're demoralised.
Well, I think the thing is that there is plenty of time. You know, we say 2-0 can be a dangerous scoreline. You know, what do? You sit back on it. Well, at the moment, Norwich have got so much momentum. They're at home. The fans expect it. You know, but they've been involved in sort of quite big scoring encounters. They do throw bodies forward. You know, and so what do? You go for 3, or are you a bit more, right, okay, pragmatic, let's play back? You know, it's difficult. You know, you do give a glimmer of hope for the drawbackers and those who want Hull, because that second goal came almost too soon. So I think he gives a lot of time. Hull get 1 goal, then they can get the momentum shift. So I don't think the game's over yet at 2-0. But obviously it's not a bad start for Norwich.
No, it certainly is, and Norwich, we normally have to talk about them rescuing results with goals late on as Hull play a ball forward. Here is Campbell, edge of the box, he's able to turn, but he needed support, and that's great covering defending from Norwich. It was a good ball forward to release Campbell, but he'll be looking back and he'll be thinking, well, there's only so much I can do, me just on my own against 2 Norwich defenders who were back like a flash.
Yeah, look at what Lewis does there to help his centre back out. Godfrey's thinking, well, I can jockey, because if he turns back on his inside, I know Jamal Lewis will get there. My assertion would be that Norwich have got the 2 best fullbacks in the division. I pretty much stand by that. I think they're both good. They've both got loads of pace as well. Here come Norwich again, and they've won a corner.
Yep, good play by Onel Hernandez, and Todd Kane's already been roasted quite a bit this evening. Hernandez, real live wire for Norwich, probably the quickest of the 3 in behind Timu Pukki, sometimes prone to making the wrong choices, but when on song, he really is a dynamite player at this level. As Norwich get the corner, Zimmerman coming across the near post, being marked by Burp when Deer whips it into the box, headed away at the 6-yard area, touchdown by Hernandez, and it's rescued now by Tribal. Tribal gets it out to Emi Buendia. Here's Lewis. Lewis plays it off Kane. and wins Norwich a throw in. A real energetic onslaught by Daniel Farke's side, proving why they're the top of the division, because they do play some lovely stuff when they're able to get forward. As Lewis plays it back in field now. Stiepermann plays it back towards Tom Tribal. Tribal across now to Godfrey, who started his career as a midfielder. He's being converted into a centre-back by Daniel Farke. Zimmerman now. Zimmerman across to Stiepermann. Now Godfrey again. Hull not really getting close at the moment. Not pressing too much. Stiepermann backheels it to Jamal Lewis. Now Godfrey. Independent off-tube studio commentary, but if we were in the stands, I think the Olays might be ringing out now.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's very impressive, isn't it? They weathered a bit of a storm. Off times the team, we said Hull were off the coach. They were. They made a good start. They a positivity of their own. Nigel Atkins set them up well, I thought. But, while they were bristling with intent, maybe they needed to do a little bit better with their finishing. But Norwich have shown them how to do that. Equally, Norwich have defended well. We've seen Godfrey nodding him away under a little bit of pressure. Like I said, he's only just 6 foot, I think. They've got 2 quick fullbacks who help bail them out, but they've defended staunchly, and you can't argue that Hull have. They've stood off a bit, Hull, haven't they? And just allowed it to happen in front of them. Kane's frightened out of his life because he's getting terrorised, by this kid Onel Hernandez, and he can't deal with him. And the rest, I'm thinking, well, I thought Ridgewell was sort of done in this country, really. But he's come back. He's only 5-6 games into his sort of new spell. I know he's not as old as the Hills as the corner kick comes in, and out comes Marshall and takes it. But, he's settling back in, and also having a sort of understanding with Burke. But at the minute, that doesn't really look like it's there.
Yeah, the corner kick was comfortably dealt with by David Marshall, and now Hull have the ball over on the far side. Played into Mark Pugh, signed on loan from Bournemouth in January. Back to Ridgewell, who is 34, so there is still time left for him to have an impact, but he's been playing in the MLS so long.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a very difficult way to adapt.
I mean, you feel like you go there for a nice payday, change of pace, nice life. Was it Portland Timbers or something like that? He was like, yeah. It's like being in the old armchair, isn't it? And now he's back. I'm sure that's probably doing a bit of a disservice to MLS, but he's not as competitive, is he? He just isn't. And so, back in the firing line, and like I said, making a new understanding. And the other thought is, has he lost a bit? Is he as fit as he was, Ridgewell, when he was at West Brom? He's always played at a high level, hasn't he? Both with Birmingham and West Brom and wherever else he's been. But yeah, is he sharp?
Yep, he hasn't looked sharp so far. Buendia just gives away a free kick over on the far side. I'll tell you, in the Championship, it's Birmingham 0, Millwall 1, Derby 0, Stoke 0, Middlesbrough 0, Preston 0, Norwich 2, Hull 0, Forest 1, Villa 2, QPR 0, Rotherham 0, and the 8 o'clock kick-off, West Brom 0, Swansea 0. Hull now with a free kick over on the far side. Going to be drifted into the box. Krull comes out. Krull doesn't get there and parries it backwards. He has to be rescued by one of his teammates. Played up towards Onel Hernandez, who spins and doesn't quite know where the ball is there. Collected by Bowen. Bowen looking forward. Good pass to Jackson Irvine. Irvine, though, forced to retreat backwards to Lehigh, who's playing at left back, and he's playing on his wrong foot. As Hull now, unfortunately, have to retreat all the way back into their own half. Still Norwich 2, Hull 0 midway through the first half, and it's looking fairly comfortable for the Canaries after a difficult opening 10 minutes. The first goal has really settled down their nerves, and getting the second, the game already looks beyond doubt. Down the left-hand side, they're particularly causing Hull plenty of problems. The combination of Jamal Lewis and Onel Hernandez really terrorising Todd Kane, who's had to concede a couple of corners. Not had any clear-cut chances since then, but neither have Hull. Norwich 2, Hull 0. And we're at the quarter-way mark of the game. It'll be John to take us through to half-time.
Just seen Pookie give the ball away, but here comes the breakdown, left-hand side again, and Hernandez again to the byline. just lays that ball back. Shot is blocked away, and then another effort. Oh, what a save by Marshall, diving to his right hand side. Just a flurry of shots then, and Buendia it was who, he wanted to add to his tally again. The attacking players again. When you look up, there's 4 yellow shirts in the whole box, and that's why they're getting shots away. Steeperman's effort blocked, but Buendia put his laces through that one. It's a good save by Marshall. Anyway, the corner comes in, up goal, they head it straight up in the air. Marshall could come and take it, looking to roll that ball out, and he gets it out. So the counter-attack is on. Fraser Campbell then bombing over the halfway line, and then he's forced to check back. So, into the middle of the park. 1 or 2 players I'd say haven't quite turned up yet, and I don't know what Mark Pugh's doing today. On loan, I think, from Bournemouth, but he hasn't shown up particularly well in this opening, I don't think.
No, he hasn't really. I think it was actually a bit of a coup when Hull managed to get him, being a really solid player for Bournemouth over the years in the Premier League. Does have that match-winning quality at this level, but they've just not been able to get the ball forward enough since Norwich took the lead. It's been almost dominated in the middle of the park by the Canaries. He's just had a touch of the ball now as I speak. Conceded possession, but then Hull have won a free kick over on that far side. So potentially a bit more danger for them, though it's not one that I think Jared Bowen will be able to go with as much accuracy as he did the first one, because it's on the opposite side.
That's right. Pugh miscontrolled it, but somehow the ball squirted off to Irvine, and then there was a foul by Tribal. But it will be Pugh now with the hit. Oh, terrible. It's like he kicked the ground before he got the ball there, and leaning back, he sends that into the stand. Real poor effort from him.
Yeah, it was like kicking a beach ball more than a football. Really poor free kickers. We have the chance to look at the goals. Steeperman, just far too easy for him to get inside both Henriksen and Burke, and it opened up really nicely. Nothing David Marshall can do, and again, terrible defending at the back for Hull for the second goal. Good play by Steeperman initially to get the ball reversed to Onel Hernandez, but from there on in, Hull should be clearing that. It shouldn't just be parried out and smacked off Ridgewell and then parried out once again. So easy for Norwich.
Yeah, I was thinking, could Hull have walked them out there and, got a few more bodies offside? Well, they were like a dog's hind leg. I think there's a real lack of understanding for them at the back. Anyway, Norwich score goals, don't they? You can see that. There's only Man City who've got more in the English leagues this season. Tim Krul's waiting for that ball to go out, and eventually Fraser Campbell puts him under pressure. And I don't know if that ball scraped off Krull, but I think he got fouled anyway, so probably just a free kick. But Campbell getting just a tad frustrated.
Yeah, you get the sense that it's going to be a bit of a thankless task up front for him. Again, it's a 2-on-1 scenario, this time with the goalkeeper and Godfrey in combination with one another, just shepherding the ball out of play, and Campbell couldn't get anywhere near it, and he's given away the foul, and Norwich, it's been very comfortable for them so far.
Sure has. No more goals in the Championship to tell you about other than what we had. No goals in the Champions League either. Particularly tight games there, but this isn't tight. After a good start where Hull, hit the woodwork, they've been very much second best, and Norwich's good attackers have been able to show and demonstrate what they can do. Really disappointed with that first goal and Henriksen's effort. I know he's supposed to be an attacking midfielder, but you think the big Norwegian would have just put himself in the way a little bit more. And sometimes I think that you need to make a bit of contact. You can't all be just standing off, particularly that deep, that close toward your own goal.
Yeah, he is meant to be an attacking midfielder, but he has been trust in this deeper role this evening alongside Kevin Stewart. So defensively, he should have been better. I mean, it is one of those where probably from his perspective, he'll think, if I dive in, I could potentially give away a penalty. But to just show Steeperman back onto his left foot, they'll know that he is a left-footed player. To do that, it's criminal. Those are the sorts of things you should be preparing for in training.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. If you're a holding midfielder, well, what foot does he want it on then? They better not show that. Also, if you're not a holding midfielder, then you're thinking, all right, well, I'm here. We see players like the game's littered with players who play in front of the back foot but don't really do anything. If you want the Granit Xhaka or Carlos Sanchez way of going about it, then it was perfect, wasn't it? But for me, you need to make contact there. You need to get stuck in. You need to be up them, so you can't allow players to turn. And if they get a run on you like that, you're dead in the water. So you just don't allow it. Good challenge by Jared Bowen in the middle of the park, but Norwich win it back, and then the ball's given away. And it will be a throw for Hull, who were trying to regroup. Daniel Farke not happy with that. Trying to keep on top of his men. In a way, it's almost come too easy, this 2-0 lead.
Yeah, maybe one or two signs in the past few minutes that Hull are starting to get back into it, but that's only down to the fact that they've just had a bit more of the ball. They've not forced Tim Krul into anything. The only moment we've seen from the goalkeeper is when he very nearly spilt the ball, but again, Norwich, such intelligence about them, they were in the right position to clear the ball. As looks like Middlesbrough have taken the lead against Preston, and Barcelona have a penalty against Lyon at the Nou Camp.
Wow. Anyway, here a chance for Aaron's just shimmying and trying to gain some ground, but he didn't have much support. Eventually, he's forced to go backwards. Tribal then with the ball to Godfrey, who picks it up inside his own half. Then good-looking ball with his right boot. Rakin finds Aaron's out that right-hand side. And then they come inside. Stupidman a ball to Hernandez into the box. Back heel for Pukki. Then Pukki flicks it, but he can't get it toward the goal. If anything, that might have gone and hit the corner post. But anyway, pretty good stuff as they win the ball high up the field of play. Another shot, and that one's risen just over from Stupidman. I mean, again, invitation to shoot. Nobody closing down. It's like saying, go on then. And he wasn't too far away.
No, and that proves that these Norwich players, they've got the quality to be able to shoot from distance like that. So I've no idea why Hull are offering them so much space. But the good thing about Norwich is they've got the back four, they've got the two holders in Tribal and McLean. The four in front are just given licence to do whatever they want. Again, with that flick behind from Hernandez into Pukki, with the effort where very nearly scored this one here, brilliant bit of awareness from him. And I think Pukki was just caught a little bit off guard. Maybe didn't expect it, and I expected him to get that one on target.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think you just scrape your foot through the ball, try and catch it immediately, and catch the keeper out, flick it round. I mean, he did all that. Apart from he didn't get it on target. I thought it was pretty clever, really. Pukki's one of those, and you remember him from school. He stood talking to the goalkeeper, and then he puts it in the back of the net, doesn't he? He's one of those. Anyway, 4 efforts on target for Norwich City and none for Hull, and well, that in a nutshell tells you about where this game's gone so far. 34 minutes gone, Norwich 2, Hull 0, and yeah, Hull have hit the woodwork, but that's about it. I've got to say, he only just clipped the woodwork as well. Jared Bowen's a good player, but I think the start that they've had, it's evaporated, hasn't it? Very quickly, really.
Yeah, it has, and the likes of Bowen, who is Hull's key player, just not being able to get in the game at all, really. The flashes we've seen from him have been very good, and the sort of player who I don't think would look out of place in the Norwich side, as that's a very firm challenge by Todd Kane on Buendia, just as he gave possession away. Andy Madley is going over to book him, and on first reaction, I think that's probably the right call.
I saw it like a 50-50, really. Although Kane makes rough for his own back there by miscontrolling the ball. The next thing, it's a 50-50 followed by another act. But I didn't think there was anything wrong there. I just thought they both went in 50-50. And, maybe Kane got the better, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, referee saw it differently. You did, and Kane gets a yellow card, but he won't know whether he's coming or going. Again, we look at that first touch, led to 50-50. Second,
I think it's the scissor motion. Both legs going in between Buendia. It's just the trailing leg that comes through. I think that's what's made the ref mind up.
I think for me, Buendia is shielding the ball. He digs in behind the ball. And then what Kane does, he flies over the top. Actually, looking at that again, you're bang right, or almost wrong, because he could have got a straight red.
Yeah.
I mean, it was terrible when I looked again. I just thought, oh, it's challenging, but you see it from a different angle. Ball's incidental there as the free kick comes in, and the ball eventually hammered clear. So they're dead lucky anyway that they haven't been reduced to 10 men. And Kane's going to have to be careful. He's having a torrid game. And well, here they come again. Right foot shot from Buendia, trying to curl it in, and it's gone just wide.
Norwich are really enjoying themselves at Carrow Road this evening. They're still leading Hull City by 2-0, and they could have extended that lead. Buendia had a curling left foot shot, which was saved by Marshall and parried behind for a corner. The four attacking players, Buendia, Stiepermann, Hernandez and Pukki, given so much licence to roam forward. Hernandez came down the right edge of the box. It was a brilliant backheel flick to Pukki, who maybe didn't anticipate it, and he shot wide and went out for a goal kick. Todd Keynes picked up the first yellow card of the game for a dangerous scissor challenge on Emi Buendia. Norwich 2, Hull 0.
So, Hull just shell-shocked at the minute. No traction. But can they make something now? They are trying to play around the back, but it was Burke who'd come forward there, and Campbell just checking the lost cause then does really well. I think the assistant referee may have given it a foul, though, as he just maybe his whole back, the full back, but again, I thought it was engaging stuff for Campbell. I don't know what he's supposed to do there. He's got to try and use his pace to get round his man who's trying to shield that ball out. Maybe he was just a bit too physical. But that's just symptomatic of how frustrated he's getting. I think they've won the ball on that left-hand side. It didn't quite work out for them. We've seen nothing of Eric Lichai going forward in this game. No, he's got pace to burn. Not a great defender. Bond tries to win the ball in the middle of the park. The ball's bouncing, maybe a high boot. Somewhere near Bowen's head means that Hull get a free kick. I didn't really see it like that. There is Lichai. Ball into midfield. They're trying to do something, but Stuart's ball back's a nonsense. And whatever Nigel Atkins said to them, it's all been drained away, hasn't it? Absolutely. There's nothing there.
I think that's just what 2 goals in quick succession do. I think if they'd have only let the first one in, maybe the game would be on a bit more of an even keel, but to concede 2 inside 4 minutes has completely wrecked their game plan. And I think even after having a good start, that's probably evaporated it even further.
Here's a chance and a shot and a save, and this time Marshall gets his hands on it. But did you see how easily Ridgewell just stood off there? If he's like, I haven't got the confidence to use my pace anymore, what are you doing then? How are you going to help your team? I mean, he stands off as a player cuts inside him and just gets his shot away. I think, well, that ain't defending anymore, mate. Are you in just because you head the ball away? I'm not sure that's going to be enough anyway. Ridgewell controls and he plays the ball. There's stuff wrong with that. Anyway, they're trying to play their way out from the back now, but Kane can't get a ball forward. He's having a shocker too. So the whole defence, for me, is all at sea today.
Yeah, it is, and it's just an absolute gift for Norwich at the moment. When Hull have come forward, particularly down this right with Bowen wanting to cut inside, I think they've actually looked quite useful, but defensively it's been poor so far. And I think Ridgewell, the reason why he's stepping back, because he knows if he steps forward, they'll do him for pace. It's a really difficult scenario for him.
It is, because then virtually you're saying, right, all 4 attackers then are quicker than you. Well, how are you going to defend them? They're not a tall team, so they're going to be playing ball in and around you. How are you going to cope with that? And that's up to his manager, isn't it, to work that out. Ridgewell then comes with Pukki. Ridgewell's just shoving his arm up in the air, trying to explain to his colleagues where he wants them. Maybe trying to organise them. But for the moment, his team are going nowhere. They lose the ball with Irvine. Pugh comes to try and close it down, but he can't get there. The ball goes backwards, and Norwich are passing the ball quicker than Hull can get a challenge in at the minute.
Yeah, they are, and they're playing brilliantly well with it at the moment. It's been a thoroughly professional display from them after going 2-0 up. They haven't got too excited, throwing men, piling forward, but they've created chances. They're keeping hold of the ball well. They're defending when they need to be, and it's just been a very good performance from them.
Wow, good looking ball, slanted out to left hand side. Jamal Lewis is all he can do to keep it in. He's looking for give and go now. But this time Hernandez makes the wrong decision. The clearance is a terrible one, and they're just going nowhere. And the idea that Henriksen is a holding midfielder is a nonsense to me. As they give away another free kick, Henriksen's having a terrible game for me, and he's their skipper, but he's an attacking player. He's definitely a square peg in a round hole tonight.
Yeah, he is. I mean, another foul given away right on the edge of the box. There's a massive goal at the Allianz Arena. Liverpool have got that all-important away goal at Bayern Munich. Sadio Mane with the strike.
It's a biggie, all right, isn't it?
Certainly is. It's Norwich now. Free kick chance for them, and to add to Hull's woes, they've got several players who can score from this range. And I think even Stiepermann, if he was to take it left-footed, he might fancy it. But Buendia looks like the more fancied target to take this.
Yeah, Buendia full of goals, full of assists, and can he grab a third and put the game to bed? Up he steps, and that one hits the roof of the net. It's not a bad effort, that. I'm not sure whether Marshall had that covered. He might have done, diving smartly to the side where the wall is, but maybe the wall did its job there as well. So, they can't be terrible at everything. I mean, Adkins tends to be one of those who sets his team up well enough. It's all Norwich still, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and Hull so demoralised by going 2-0 down. I think they're seeing their playoff campaign really starting to fade now, because to all intents and purposes, this is going to be 5 straight away defeats now. I just can't see Hull getting back into this game.
I can, you see. I think I can see him scoring a goal. Their problem is, if they have to defend for long enough, they're in big trouble. But I think if they get one, which I think they're capable of, not with passes like that this time, but Bowen gives it away and he wins it back as well. If they get one, I think they could put the frightens on Norwich at a certain point. If they grab a second for a point, which I think is just about the limit that they could do, it'd have to be dead late in the game. Because if for any, imagine they got 2-2 and it's at the hour mark, 30 minutes, they'd just get battered, wouldn't they, Hull?
Sorry, that's the thing. I can see Hull getting a goal, but similarly, I can see Norwich getting another 2.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one for Nigel to approach.
Yeah, there might be a point though if he goes 2-1 where Norwich go, what do we want out of this? All of a sudden, do we hang on to what we've got? Like we said, it could be a big momentum shift, but there'd have to be at the moment. It's as comprehensive a 2-0 scoreline as you're going to see. It's as comfortable a victory at the moment. It looks like it's going to be for Norwich as you're going to see in the division. They seem to have all the cards. And here they go again with Pukki. Lays the ball around the corner to Onel Hernandez. Look at all the bodies firing forward. And how many players run in front of the ball. Hernandez with it. I don't know if that was a shot or a little flick ball into the box for somebody else. But in the end, Marshall scrambled it. Only just got it away.
I think it's a definite cross, but one that David Marshall was completely unready for. I think he maybe thinks that Burke's going to get something to it. Lack of communication at the back. Sorry, it wasn't Burke. It might have been Lehigh, but Norwich have taken the corner quickly.
They do, and then the ball's headed straight up in the air by Henriksen. He can't clear it for his teammates. Pukki then wrestles into the box. He goes, he cuts, and he's to ground. But the ball giving away an opportunity then again as Norwich have the ball in the box one more time. How many times today? This time with the tribal, who won't let them clear the ball, and they've got them penned in. Norwich can't clear their lines, and then it's all given away with a silly foul from Buendia. They are all over Hull like a cheap suit here. They're just too good for him.
Yeah, they are, and Hull just can't get the ball away. I think that one that fell to Tribal probably fell to the wrong man on the pitch for Norwich to try and do something. I don't think there's any shout of a penalty of Pukki going down in there. I just think that was strong defending against the Finn, but struggling so much, and they're desperate for half-time now.
Yeah, I think they need to make a couple of changes at the break, and I don't think Henriksen's right in that slot. I'd put him where Pugh's possibly supposed to be. I don't know even where he's supposed to be. But I think if they got Grzycki on the bench, I think I'd like to see him.
Yeah, I think Grzycki's probably the key man to come on off the bench. Chris Martin, I think maybe his career's stagnating a little bit, but he's still got potential to get goals at this level. They need to just try and change something, because I don't think they can go back to how they played in the opening 10 minutes, because they're 2-0 down now. They need to change something.
They do, as their keeper put under pressure. There's not great clearance. Maybe a chance here for Hull, just the edge of the area. The cross comes in, and a shot. Oh, and it's hit the back of the net, out of nothing. And just before the break, he'd been having a terrible game, but Mark Pugh gets one back. The Bournemouth Delaney in off the post. Norwich 2, Hull 1.
Well, Norwich were looking so comfortable before the break, but out of nothing, Hull have pulled the goal back, and it's a brilliant finish as well. It all stemmed from a poor goal kick taken by Tim Krul. It fell to Marcus Henriksen, who slipped as he went for the cross, but it was controlled by Mark Pugh on his right foot, and then he cushioned it down and smashed it into the back of the net. Great finish. Perhaps we've got a game on. Norwich 2, Hull 1.
Well, that was absolutely out of nothing. And guess who put the ball in for Pugh? Henriksen, up the top of the field where you want him to be. That's what he does. It's a savvy ball that he knew he couldn't get the shot away. Finds Pugh, and it's a beautiful finish.
It was a great finish, and that's what Mark Pugh can do at this level. I think he could be a real key player for Hull. As we've only got a minute of added time, I think there might be a bit more to it because of the goal, but suddenly Norwich will be a little bit shaky now, and that's going to give Hull so much momentum going into the second half.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a goal that they certainly didn't deserve, but they've got anyway, and a one-goal game, and like we said, it's going to take a little bit for Daniel Farke to sort out the break, and also into those heads, instead of going any buoyant to half-time, and aren't we great? It's like, well, what have we done that for? All that was down to was a back pass where the keeper just dilly-dallied. We talked about Fraser Campbell chasing lost causes, and he did one there. That led to Krull's mistake and the goal that they've got back. Referee blows for half-time then. It's Norwich 2, Hull 1.
Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looking comfortable for most of that first half. They took the lead on 10 minutes. Steeperman allowed to get in between Henriksen and Burke in the box before smashing it into the back of the net. Buendia capitalised on an awful piece of goalkeeping and defending from David Martin. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Steeperman able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell, respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Steeperman able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell, respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Steeperman able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell, respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable throughout. Pukki had a chance to make it 3, but just before the break, Mark Pugh smashed the ball in after Tim Krul's mistake. Norwich 2, Hull 1. Half-time, it's Norwich 2, Hull 1. Norwich looked comfortable for most of that first half, taking the lead on 10 minutes. Marco Stiepermann able to dance through the Hull box, getting in between the challenge of Henriksen and Burke before smashing the ball in. Buendia got the second, capitalising on some poor goalkeeping and defending from David Marshall and Liam Ridgewell respectively. They looked very comfortable. We'll leave that one there as we're nearly back underway for second half independent off-tube studio coverage of Norwich against Hull City, where the game could have had its potentially defining moment just before the break, because Norwich were leading comfortably, very comfortably should I say, by 2-0 with dominating proceedings, but then Hull came forward, one attack, and Mark Pugh halved the deficit to make it Norwich 2, Hull 1, and Hull already in this second half looking to try and come forward, but Kevin Stewart just runs down a blind alley, squares it now to Eric Lehigh, takes the ball onto his right foot, delivers a cross to the back post, but that's going to be easy for Tim Krul to gather. The two teams unchanged from the first half as Tribal is down on the deck for Norwich, so they go with Krul, Aarons, Zimmerman, Godfrey, Lewis, Tribal, McLean, Buendia, Stiepermann, Hernandez and Pukki. Hull go with Marshall, Kane, who's picked up the game's only booking, Burke, Ridgewell, Lehigh, Henriksen, Stewart, Bowen, Irvine, Pugh and Campbell up front. Myself, Dan McCarthy and John Hogan taking you through the rest of this game. And John, we were saying just as that goal went in, that could change the whole complexion of it and the jitters might set in for Norwich.
Yeah, exactly. I believe that. It's more likely that Norwich go on and grab another goal and secure it. But, stranger things happen. They grabbed 2 goals. They were so comfortable. But that two goal scoreline, is one way you haven't put the game to bed. We know there could be a big momentum shift. We just saw Fraser Campbell upend Tribal get away with it, but here come Norwich again. They've got a great opportunity here, and Hernandez wanted all day, and he gets a shot away. It's still in the end. I mean, the one thing going against Old getting back into this game, or leaving Carrow with any points, is the fact they just cannot defend.
No, they certainly can't, and it's quite disappointing end to that build-up play by Norwich, because down this left-hand side, Hernandez and Lewis have got such a good understanding going on between them. The space opened up for one another. Hernandez should have been shooting first time, or at least take just the one touch and then go for the strike. He took 2 or 3, and that allowed Hull to just be able to crowd the Norwich man. As mentioned, Tribal went down a few minutes ago. He looks to be walking very uncomfortably at the moment.
Well, the challenge from Campbell, he's like, he's trying to nick the ball again, use his pace. But what essentially he's done, he's got a bit of the ball, but he's kicked through Tribal to get there. It was a free kick and probably a yellow card. But the referee didn't deem it thus, and so he got away with that. But here come Norwich now.
Yeah, Pookie tries to spin in behind the Norwich defenders, the Hull defenders, but Hull can come away with possession. Bowen running down that far side, and some real protest coming from the Hull bench on the sideline as Bowen was knocked down by Jamal Lewis. I think it's one that we'll have to have a look at a replay of before we can judge entirely, but Lewis perhaps with a bit of a sheepish look on his face as Bowen lies on the ground. Steeperman there as well. It might have even been him who got caught up in that, as the referee has his card in his hand, and it looks like Lewis is going to pick up a booking.
Yeah, I mean, he's tiptoeing down the line. I didn't think Lewis had to do too much to put him out of play, but we'll take another look. He runs past Pookie, and then for me he runs into the shoulder. It's strong play, but and then he runs into the advertising horn, which really did hurt. But I didn't think. I thought that kind of physicality is all right. You go shoulder to shoulder. He's strong. You're not just going to run past me. He's side by side with him. What hurts is him falling into the advertising order, which is that close to the pitch on that side.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think it was just strong play from Lewis. I think that the thing that might have made the referee's mind up was the fact that Bowen was quite aggressively pushed into the advertising hoardings, but it was a legal shoulder barge in our opinion. Bowen's still on the ground receiving a bit of treatment, certainly is a bit sore, and that's one way to take out Hull's most threatening player. Here is Campbell. Campbell coming forward, tries to skip past a challenge of Jamal Lewis. Another one from him, and already starting to mount up a bit, and they're going to be looking to attack down that side, and any slightest bit of contact Lewis gets on a player, they're going to be going down and claiming for a second yellow.
Well, that's not foul, is it? I mean, Campbell boots the ball ahead of himself. He's not going to get there, and he finds something to fall over, which happens to be Lewis's ankle. But I don't think that was a foul at all. Don't think this referee is particularly good, and I think he's easy to fool.
Yep, Andy Madley, the official this evening at Carrow Road. Bowen leaves the free kick for Kane to deliver to the back post. It was a man free. I think it was Ridgewell coming forward. Henriksen has rescued it. Really good sliding challenge from Aarons to take the ball out of play for a corner, but certainly a lot more of an even look about this game now.
Maybe still think Norwich are the better team, but sometimes their life ain't fair, and the team who isn't quite as good can, grab a goal back. But they've got a corner kick now.
Yep, corner swung into the near post, headed on by Tribal. Headed out once again by Norwich, and they can get the ball to Mark Pugh. First chance for him to really run down the wing. A couple of step overs, takes it inside, tries to poke a ball in field. It cannons off a Norwich man. I think it might have just gone out for throwing. No, it's gone out for a corner kick. So another set piece chance for Hull, as Pugh didn't quite have the ball on the quadrant there. Always trying to gain any slight advantage, and that's what some of the fans are whistling behind him. Pugh's ball into the area, headed on at the 6-yard box. Volley from the edge of the box is completely mishit, and now Norwich can counter-attack. Headed down by Pookie. It's 4-on-3. If Pookie can get his head up, Lewis charging forward. Pookie cuts inside, and that's a dreadful ball to try and find Jamal Lewis. Probably not the best player on the ball is Teemu Pukki. He does more of his work off it and able to make the space for himself to score. And maybe it needed a Buendia or a Hernandez on the ball there.
Yeah, again, they're impressive with the amount of numbers they got forward, but again, Pookie giving the ball away. They did that right at the start of the first half, didn't they? And then they settled down into it. But we said that Hull have got a shot to nothing, and they still do, don't they, in this game? They're 2-1 down, but we said from set piece they could ask a question or two. I'm impressed with Fraser Campbell today. Off time, managers have not really known what to do with him, but I always think it's a good option away from home. You're not going to see much of the ball. You want somebody just to chase after lost cause. He's done that quite well today.
Certainly so. As Norwich now have a free kick in the centre circle. They take quickly over now to the near side with Max Aarons. Aarons back into the feet of Tribal. Now Kenny McLean. There's space for him to turn. Finds Godfrey. Godfrey able to mosey forward. He's got Stiepermann nearby and picks out the German. Stiepermann gets his head up. Lewis on the far side. He tries to thread one through rather than go for the more simple option, and Hull can counter-attack, but Irvine can't quite take the ball prodded forward by Mark Pugh. But Hull again, they're doing very well to win the ball high up the park. Here is Campbell running down the left. He's got Irvine in support. Campbell still on the ball, doing really well. Fraser Campbell again, all on his own. Didn't quite have enough support. There was only Irvine there running with him, but he's won a corner.
Yeah, I think Zimmerman did enough to put him off there. Showed his pace again, Fraser Campbell, didn't he? And very direct, but there's nobody with him. I mean, if you're Irvine, you think, well, how do you think he's going to score from that? He never busts a gut to get on the inside of him, does he? And and make a target for him. It's like, oh, off you go, Fresh. You go score yourself. When they've got two players in the keeper to beat, they need to support him a bit better than that.
Actually didn't go out for a corner. The last touch must have come off Fraser Campbell, so Zimmerman did well, and it's him on the ball now. Across to Godfrey. Godfrey charging forward before cutting back and going inside again to Christoph Zimmerman. One player who was part of the German Revolution by Daniel Farke, who, lest we forget, they finished 14th last season, did Norwich. It would have been very, very easy for Norwich to just pull the trigger. And it's a real case that sometimes patience works.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a really interesting game. Since that goal just before the break, had Norwich gone in at 2-0, you just thought, well, that's it. They've virtually got the game won. Now it's a very different story. I think there is still a bit of nerves out there. They're still throwing bodies forward when they can, but they've lost the ball an awful lot at times. This time it's Fraser Campbell's turn. Look at Hernandez go, puts his head down. He's so quick, isn't he? And here come Norwich.
Yeah, Hernandez speeds to the left of the box, still on the ball now. Can he pull a cross back? He can. No one was there, but no Hull City players there either, so it's just able to drift out, and Hull will get to it.
He reminds me of Adama Traore, in a way. I mean, he's absolutely electric, isn't he, with his pace? And then you think, well, what are you going to do with it? You never quite know, do you? I mean, but there you got a cut back out of nothing. But it's a good game to watch now.
It's been an energetic start to the second half for both teams. Norwich still look devastating whenever they come forward, but that goal at the end of the first half for Hull has really spurred them on. Norwich have had the best chances of the second half so far. Lovely combination between Jamal Lewis and Onel Hernandez on the left-hand side. So the ball reversed to Hernandez. He should have had the shot first time, but took too many touches and the chance was snuffed out. Jamal Lewis himself has picked up Norwich's first booking of the game. A little bit harsh. It looked like he fairly shoulder-charged Jared Boeing off the field of play, but the fact that he smacked the advertising hoardings might have calmed the referee. Norwich 2, Hull 1.
Yeah, like you say, more the collision with the advertising, which at Cowra Road, I got two banks of that. One's in front of the stewards, even so close to field of play, and that's where Bowen hurt himself. I mean, he kind of hit that at a funny angle. You couldn't reproduce it, but it does make you think that strip of advertising is just too close to players, by a long way. Anyway, Norwich back on the ball now. But like I said, they've got so many bodies going forward. Still a lot of bodies back. They seem to have deserted midfield at the moment, Norwich. And, hard to see what they're doing. But here they come on the attack again with Hernandez.
Yep, Hernandez goes down the outside this time, cross in, deflected off Kane and out for a corner, and Kane has a look of shell shock about him whenever the camera focuses because he's just being torn apart.
He can't cope with him. I mean, the basics are he runs more quickly than Kane can, and he needs a bit of help. But when he keeps looking for it, it's not there. So he's just going to have to get on with it, I'm afraid, and do the best he can.
Certainly so, as Norwich now have a corner drifted to the near post, although a couple of Hull players just trip over it, each other as they try and clear it. Zimmerman now marauding forward himself. Here is Lewis, who's got the ball from Hernandez on the overlap. Lewis reverses it back to Onel Hernandez. Hernandez has crossed in, headed away by Ridgewell, collected now by Campbell, taken on by Burke. He's brought to the ground.
Do you know what? There's a little overlap there for Norwich, and the whole midfield had just stopped. It's just like, I can't cope with that, so I'm not going to bother. You just, come on. Hull are a funny team, aren't they? But they're not all necessarily pulling in the right direction all the time. It's all right when they're going forward. Everybody wants to play then, but I don't see a bunch that are willing to put in the hard yards, chasing back for their team. So I'm struggling to see this team getting in the playoffs, but you never know.
Yeah, they just look like a run-of-the-mill mid-table championship side. They've certainly got too much quality about them, I think, to ever be considered a relegation threat. That's where they were near the start of the season, but Nigel Adkins got them on a very good run. But since then, they've just hit the buffers, and maybe the lack of depth is telling, although they do have some good players on the bench. We mentioned Grosicki, they've got Chris Martin, Evandro, David Milinkovic, Stephen Kingsley, left back, so certainly not too short of options, although you can definitely say the same for Norwich as well. On their bench, Jordan Rhodes, Mario Vrancic, Moritz Leitner, Todd Campbell, so both sides, if they want to change things and make things happen, as that was Reece Burke. Sorry, who was it that got the...
just looking, it was Reece Burke, wasn't it? I mean, he's deadly late here. And again, on Hernandez just catches him. Ball's gone. You can't afford to sell yourself like that. And he just slides and upends him. I don't know what he was expecting there, but it's such an obvious yellow card, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was he looked very surprised to have been given that yellow card. And I think it's one where Andy Madley doesn't need to earn his money. It's so obvious. The free kick's whipped into the box, headed up in the air, and then Campbell can add the extras as Norwich just get the ball back now. Just starting to look a little bit more comfortable, Norwich, after the opening spell of the second half and the end of the first period, but they will be looking for a third goal to re-establish the 2-goal cushion that they had, which looked comfortable anyway. Ball upfield, wonderful flick. Oh, and Pukki treads on the ball. He still gets to it, reverses it now to Onel Hernandez, who threads it between the legs. Oh, it's actually Emi Buendia who puts it between the goalkeeper. What a piece of play that was by Teemu Pukki, and rescuing what was a bit of a mess up by him.
Yeah, again, players not chasing back. Nobody wants to go with the runners out of this whole side. Buendia then coming on the inside of him on that left-hand side, and although Pukki'd overrun it, he finds him with a heel, and from close range, he drills it past Marshall for Norwich 3 Hull 1.
Champagne football for Norwich. They've got their third, and Emi Buendia has his second. It came for a long ball played upfield, which Buendia took a brilliant flick to play into Teemu Pukki, who trod on the ball. He had to go backwards, but then Pukki himself with a glorious flick to Buendia, who at the near post put it between the legs of David Marshall to make it Norwich 3, Hull 1.
Yeah, I mean, just look at it again. I think it's good play by Norwich, but they're not going to play this lame team every week, are they? Honestly, at the back, I just think that, Hull look amateurish, really. I mean, I don't think Marshall has had that much to do, but again, he's beaten at his near post. The man on his inside is Ridgewell, who should probably have got across quicker to block it out. The fact is that Buendia with a little back heel flick sets that in motion anyway for Pukki. It's a great little flick. But the fact that then he can get onto it, so he's done what he's done, and then he's running to get on the end of something. If you're centre back watching all that from a mile away, you think ball's going to go there, that ball's going to go there, and he's going to follow up. I'll at least make sure that doesn't happen. But nothing happens, does it? Berkey stood up. Kane's nowhere to be seen again. Like we said, he's shell shocked. He's probably somewhere chasing after Hernandez, and then it's just too easy. But I think they've been pretty awful defending tonight.
Yep, they have, and another example of why they're probably not going to get into the playoffs. Really composed finish though by Buendia. Marshall sold himself, and Buendia.
I mean, it's through the legs. I mean, that can happen, but I think a good goalkeeper, if you're a tight angle, there's only so many ways you can get beaten. Thrash past you, but if you hold the shape, you're hoping, But through your legs there, I mean, he just left a great big gap, didn't he? And I think we saw a goal like that last night through the legs of the keeper. But anyway, it is what it is. And again, it restores a 2-goal cushion and means now they can sit back and be a lot more comfortable. And it takes the anxiety out of the crowd as well.
And while they've got the 3rd goal and the 2-goal cushion, they might have to do something about Tom Tribal, because the cameras keep panning onto him and he still looks a little bit uncomfortable in the middle for Norwich. And of course, he's that engine room for them. Aston Villa have got a 3rd goal against Nottingham Forest. John McGinn was on a hat-trick, but it's Courtney House, the on-loan Wolves defender, as Norwich play a ball to the left-hand side. But Hernandez, he's quick. Not quite that quick, but Norwich exactly what they needed just to really settle the nerves, because Hull showed that they've got the capability of scoring, but I think that 3rd goal might have just killed off any momentum they've had.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they got a goal out of nothing, didn't they, just before the break? A bit of complacency. But, I think this game more or less done and dusted, really. I'm looking at Norwich and thinking, well, how will they go in the Premier League? What is it they're short of? Obviously, everybody would like a bigger squad. Maybe there's some more good German talent to unearth for next to nothing. I do think the 2 centre backs there, I think potentially they could be, improved. But there we go. At the moment, they look like they're good at what they're doing. I think going forward, even in the Premier League, this team is going to score enough goals. So. Yeah, things looking good for Norwich, I think.
Crossed in from the left-hand side by Stiepermann. Pukki was trying to get there out the far post. Man who you expect to be the one getting the goals for Norwich, but when he's not firing, Buendia and Stiepermann are doing that for him. Here they come now with Onel Hernandez. Just able to turn and spin away from a barrage of black shirts. Not able to get to the ball, and once again, Norwich so comfortable in possession. That's another thing that Daniel Farke has installed in this side, the ability to hold on to the ball. And again, they now race forward, and that's a clip from behind by Henriksen. And again, a very simple booking to award.
Again, it's a player running away from him. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's just running across the back legs there. And it's dead obvious there. McLean's going to go down. Silly foul, really. But they've done that all night. It's because they're out of position. They're constantly chasing the game. Norwich take the free kick early, get round the back, but it's too quick for the referee, which is a shame for Norwich, because yet again, they're just too clever, too quick for the opposition.
Yeah, they are, and Marcus Henriksen will miss the next 2 games against QPR and Ipswich as Hull's season just dies off. Norwich now with a free kick. Can they get a 4th goal? Whipped in to the back post, a little bit too far for everyone going forward. Norwich claiming that Irvine got a little bit of a flick to it, and I think he did. So Norwich now have the corner kick on this near side. Not the biggest, but they've got that sort of team where they can maybe be a bit creative from corner kicks and go with the training ground routines.
No, exactly that. Just because they're not overly big, they've still got targets to hit, and if they put the ball in the right place, it's amazing how many of those Fraser Campbell has got to, and he's done well in his defensive duties tonight. At least he's one who can defend for Hull. Unfortunately, he's their main strike threat, so that's a shame. But yeah, they're constantly undone at the back, aren't they? And you can see where Nigel Adkins has got to improve. And also, if you remember rightly, the Southampton team that he took up absolutely shipped goals. I don't think he's the best judge of centre back. You know, when I think Pochettino, whoever it was, took it on after him, the immediate first thing they did was make 2 signings. I think Lovren was one of them, and then somebody else. So I'm not sure that Nigel Adkins is a good judge of centre back, and I think he needs to think again, particularly about Ridgewell.
Here come Norwich down the far side with Jamal Lewis in possession. Turns back and goes to Stiepermann. Lewis has continued his run forward. Lewis with a low ball across, and Teemu Pukki very near to getting to that. Perhaps a bit too much pace on the ball across from Jamal Lewis. But again, it's enjoyable football to watch this.
Right, I'm looking at Pukki, and I think, you know, he's just waiting. He's waiting for Ridgewell, and Ridgewell's showing Pukki his number, but he's never got Pukki. You know, Pukki's playing, you know, he's like, Leach's marking me. Look, Ridgewell looks at him, and as soon as he stopped looking at him, you know, then he's in the gap. You know, Ridgewell will look over his shoulder and see that Pukki doesn't get on the end of it and put it in. But had he done so, you know, who's he marking? Who's Ridgewell marking? To keep having a go at him, but he's having a shocker. He looks like a busted flush right now as a footballer, and you know, every time the Norwich come forward, they look like they could score.
Yeah, I think the only reason Pukki maybe didn't run forward was because he didn't want to be caught offside. He'll play a long ball forward, looking for Irvine, but that's so comfortable for Aarons, who him and Lewis just look like very accomplished players at such a tender age. Well, we've passed the 3/4 way mark of this game. Norwich 3, Hull 1. Norwich looking comfortable. John to take us through to full time.
West Brom have scored against Swansea. Swansea, a team who, well, they haven't really got any strikers at the minute. I don't know who was fit for this game. But last time I saw them, they had Danny James up top. He's a good player, but not good enough for QPR nil. Rotherham looks like they're about to score. And yeah, watch QPR, despite the fact they beat Leeds United recently, I didn't really rate them. As we see a long ball forward for Hull, and that's a hopeless effort. Middlesbrough down to 10 men, so I've seen Preston come back at them. Funny, Preston were terrible, and then second half of the season, quite good. Birmingham are losing to Millwall tonight. It's a proper weird whole division, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really opening up at the bottom as well. If Rotherham and Millwall can get this, it'd be Wigan that'll drop into the bottom 3, and their season's collapsed really from looking like fairly comfortable mid-table just a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I think they've got power back, haven't they, though, Wigan, and maybe that'll be enough for them. Here come Norwich again, down the right-hand side chance. Stiepermann then, great cross, the opportunity for Hernandez, and his shot's that bad, it flies over his own head, and he's able to pick it up second time around. He just lays it back. But, well, we see a shot come in. That was eventually blocked away by Henriksen. Then Jared Bowen. Poor clearance, picked up by Norwich. And they're just all over him. Again, just way too good for this team. As we see Stiepermann looking for the give and go. So close to getting that ball back. Stewart, I think he was. Just got the intervention. Now, Campbell, nice little ball forward. And they're playing out from left-hand side. Leach's ball. A bit of a nightmare ball, really. But, well, eventually that ball just toe-ended out by one of the Norwich players. Will be a throw for Hull. But Hull, even struggling with their goal forward now. But whenever they've got to defend, it just looks beyond them. Anyway, we're going to see a change now. And having just done his first eye-catching bit of work, Kevin Stewart, he's now replaced by David Milinkovic. But we haven't seen much of Stewart, have we, really?
No, we haven't. He's having a word with Nigel Adkins, I think, just explaining why he's come on at 6, holding midfielder off and winger on. So a bit more positive, I suppose. It might push Bowen maybe into a more central area, push Irvine back into midfield, but then that's 2 attacking midfielders holding almost in Irvine and Henriksen. So I suppose you can't really fault Nigel Adkins for wanting to go for it, but you surely think Grosicki's got to come on at some point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the game might be gone for them as here comes Hernandez again, gets to run at Burke, cuts inside him, runs past him into the box he goes. They can't cope with him today. As the ball now just at the edge of the area, chance for a shot eventually blocked away by Henriksen. Ball breaks back to Norwich now, who have a shot from range, and that's a poor effort, sliced badly by Jamal Lewis. In fact, no, it was Godfrey with the hit, but anyway, Daniel Farke is not thrilled about it. I think why not,
Yeah, exactly. Well, Grosicki is going to come on now for Bowen. Maybe that's just waving the white flag from Hull. Perhaps. I know he's not had his most effective game, Jared Bowen, but 3-1 down against a side top of the division who are running riot with this game. I think it's just a case of Nigel Adkins giving him a bit of a rest and maybe just trying to preserve him for the games to come.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's just a bit of game management that's more looking forward to the next and thinking about this. Although, we're not criticising Grosicki, but Jared Bowen has been the goal getter for Hull this season and been in a rich vein of form. So much so that plenty have been looking at him. There are a few standout players in the division. I think Bowen is one of them. Talked about Danny James at Swansea. I think he's good. Lolly, obviously, decent, although his Forest team are getting thumped tonight. I think Grealish at Villa would be in my team of the season. He'd be great, and then he got injured, and then they did nothing, and now he's back, and all of a sudden that they're playing well again. He's no big surprise to me. But if you're looking at the team of the season, then Norwich are not far away, and they would have multiple entries in the best 11 for the season. They give the ball away in the middle of the park. Irvine flicks it forward. Maybe an opportunity. Pugh looking to thread the eye with needle, and he can't quite manage that. So, who are the best out of this Norwich team then? I mean, Pukki's got the goals. I suspect that he would be in the team of the season.
Yeah, I think he would be. I think Stiepermann's been excellent throughout. Really, really consistent. As Norwich come into the box again, maybe just taking a bit too much time. I think the fullbacks, I think Aarons and Lewis would probably have their place in the team of the season. Tim Kruller's looked fairly solid. I think it was a signing that went under the radar. I've not had the best of times at Newcastle, but kind of been reinvigorated by his time at Norwich, and yeah, they've got plenty of contenders that would go into that team of the season.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, for me, the fullbacks, Buendia, possibly Stiepermann, Pukki. Anyway, in comes the delivery for the corner kick, defended. Ball breaks back out, and then there's a shot that's driven well wide from the edge of the area. And again, Hernandez has had a pretty good game, but that was well wide.
Norwich are really starting to enjoy themselves now. It's still them leading by 3-1, and Hull are really going to have nightmares about Onel Hernandez when they leave Carrow Road this evening. Every time he picks up the ball on the left-hand side, he looks like he can make things happen. Sometimes he's just a little bit too quick for his own good. He had a strike which looped over his head. He somehow kept it in play and tried to create, but it didn't quite come off. Hull have responded by making a couple of attack-minded changes. Milinkovic and Grosicki have come on for Bowen and Stewart. Norwich 3, Hull 1.
So, Hull still keeping going, obviously, but the game looks beyond them. Milinkovic there getting the point from Stiepermann, saying that there's no need for that. Henriksen then just calming everything down. Of course, he played for Rosenborg. An interesting career, Henriksen. His dad was the manager there, I think, at the time. But he's a decent player, all right. Anyway, Milinkovic there probably should have got a yellow card for just kicking his man. No attempt to play the ball there, was there? And again, it's one that's missed by the referee. When he saw it's a free kick, but I don't understand which bit of that is not a yellow card.
Yeah, just one of those. Unless it's a case of the referee wanting to just wave it on, it's him coming onto the field of play. He's only been on a few minutes. I'm not too sure, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a weird one, that. Anyway, Pugh has the ball. You could see that Mark Pugh, I've just wondered about him, and then he scored that great goal, and I think that has sort of given him a bit of a buzz, and reminded him what he's all about in a sense. But you said he'd be a good player at this level, and I think that's probably right. But just for the minute, things aren't going their way. Here is Pugh, edge of the area, trying to say that he gets the ball caught on his feet. So too does Irvine. Campbell then forward to Pugh. He's able to keep hold of the ball pretty well there. And then Burke finds a ball for Henriksen, who cuts on his inside. Decent ball into the box. Eventually, the attempted crossing from Grzycki didn't quite get there. All still trying to play it down that right-hand side. It doesn't really work out for them. And Pookie just about keeps it in, and then Burke, stretched out a long leg, and all he can do is put it out for a Norwich throw.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first bit of promise we've seen from Hull for a good 20-25 minutes as Grzycki got involved. Pugh, they had plenty of men going forward. Just couldn't get the ball into the box. Oh, that's a lovely ball forward as Norwich can go. Oh, the flag's gone up for an offside against Onel Hernandez.
He didn't have to be, did he? I mean, honestly, how far is he? Just over the halfway line. We're taking another look. Did he bend his run sufficiently? No, he's off, but this kid doesn't need to be. I just think he's got to hold his line there, and he's going to break forward and be clear one-on-one anyway. So he doesn't need to be advanced, does he, at that point? Maybe it took too long for the ball to get to him, but that easily could have been 4. No, he could quite easily be the man of the match. The fact that he's got a mismatch down that side because he's better than Kane, it's almost like he's got freedom to do what he wants. Not everything that he's done has been brilliant, but I just think he's running ragged, and they honestly don't know what to do with him. I mean, I'm trying to think, who is he like, what's it like? And it's a bit like watching Overmars when he played for Arsenal. At certain points, the defenders knew they couldn't get close to him because they get burned by him. Get too close and he bursts past you like a chump. So then you end up not playing him. You stand off him, and he's going to do what he's going to do anyway. You think, well, what was the point? And Hernandez, I think he's got that over Kane in this game. But Kane doesn't know what to do with him. Anyway, Pugh coming forward. Here come Hull. If they're going to get back into this game, they need to go pretty soon. But the little dab ball into the box is a shocker. And Kroll will wait until he's closed down by the former Sunderland man, the former Newcastle man. And Kroll will pick the ball up.
Yeah, I think going back to the point you made about Hernandez, one thing that defenders detest playing against is unless they're very quick themselves, is playing against pace, and clearly Hernandez is much quicker than Todd Kane. And then you only think the reason why you're still playing at this level for now, at least, is because sometimes you don't necessarily make the right decisions. If that can be sorted, you have a Premier League player there easily.
Well, I think so. It's Premier League pace, but it doesn't always translate. But you look at players who've got that. I mean, take Raheem Sterling. You forget how quick he is, but he's got that. And all of a sudden, you've got a good coach, Guardiola, telling him, right, half turn, putting him into slots where it's easier for him to go and grab a goal. This Hernandez, he could be anything, couldn't he? Oft times you get somebody like that and they're just quick. I think Chari, I'm beginning to think, I quite like watching him, but I'm thinking, well, when is it going to happen for him? And it just doesn't seem to, does it? And we've seen a few of those in our time as well, that they're just quick, and then maybe there's not enough football behind it. I think Hernandez has got so many nice cuts and turns. I think maybe that could translate into something else. And most certainly, that pace will frighten the life out of teams in the Premier League as well, where generally speaking there are quicker players. But not everybody's Kyle Walker who's going to come up against each time, and he'll frighten the life out of some anyway. Hold back on the ball. 10 minutes left to go in this game, and we're sounding like Norwich are already in the Premier League, but this performance has been as good as I've seen, really. Had one good hit before the break. Here they come now with Campbell, just at the edge of the area. Ball might break, an opportunity here into the box. They go. Well, what's the referee giving here? Hull screaming with Pugh for a penalty kick, but nothing doing, and I just felt it. They just didn't do enough there to put the ball at the back of the net.
I thought Zimmerman got to the ball, to be honest. The Norwich captain. We'll have another look at the closer replay. Nice ball from Campbell, got the deflection. Well, actually, to be honest, I don't think Zimmerman touched the ball. Oh man, we'll have another look. Well, there was a tiny touch. You've seen them give him, but I think it is a bit soft. I mean, are the appeals that strong? If the scoreline's the other way around, it's just a bit of desperation, I think, maybe from Hull to get back into this. I think they did have half a shout, and maybe I'm doing Pugh a disservice, but not overly convinced.
I can understand his point of view, right? Stiepermann goes down. He's trying to flick that ball away, and then Pugh. He's got to sort of, as Martin comes on for Fraser Campbell, I thought Campbell's been Hull's best player. He had to sort of almost hurdle that leg to get to the ball. That still doesn't quite make it a foul in my book. It's not, that ball was sort of meant for neither of them. It's just rolling across the box. He had a legitimate attempt, Stiepermann, to try and play the ball, and then a little bit later comes Pugh. It's not even a 50-50, and had it been, then, I think you do have to hurdle the opposition. But it's just not for me. It didn't look like a penalty. Anyway, Pugh will still feel badly done by, and I understand that as well. But anyway, Norwich playing out from the back again. They're pretty cool. And Anders helping out. That's a lovely turn by Pookie. And Ridgewell just brings him down. It's got to be a yellow card, surely.
Yeah, it was a lovely piece of play by Pookie. We're still going back to this penalty kick. I think that the problem is that it's Zimmerman's trailing leg that gets caught with Pugh, and I think there's not, where can he put that leg? I don't think he can move it. Had it been his opposite leg, I think there's a much more legitimate shout. But
yeah, I don't think Pugh is going to get there, is he? Liverpool have scored again at the Allianz Arena. And Van Dijk, wow, he's a smashing player, isn't he? Anyway, Norwich then have Hernandez, their own smashing player tonight. Oh, I said that, he gives the ball away, then he wins it back. Then he runs into his own man, but they still go forward. Here come Norwich into the box, they go. Buendia trying, I think, to control it, to shoot, rather than try and find Hernandez. I'm impressed with Hernandez chasing back and helping his teammates out as well. He seems to want to cover his full back when he needs to. I'm so impressed with Norwich tonight.
I think that's what you have to do if you're in this Norwich side, because the fullbacks are so advanced themselves. So the wingers, when the fullbacks are forward, the wingers have to become fullbacks momentarily. I think it's kind of an interchangeable thing with Daniel Farke, and clearly him and Buendia on the opposite side have really bought into that. Okay, Buendia is not a natural wide man; he's more of a player that drifts inside, but they still do what Daniel Farke asked them to do.
So Camerlinger's on Grosicki, who in his time had been terrific. Norwich are lining up another sub just to get fresh legs out there. Game gone pretty quiet for Hull though, just showing little bits and pieces. And can they find Mark Pugh? Ball into the box, and then Aarons is able just to smash that one away. I mean, Hull haven't given up. That's not their style, but just struggling to get any goal forward. And here come Norwich again. Good ball dug out by Stiepermann. And this time Hernandez actually beaten to it by Kane.
Closing stages of this contest, and it looks all but over for Hull, but they did have a fairly legitimate shout for a penalty a few minutes ago. A bit of a mess at the back for Norwich. Campbell poked a ball through into the box. It took a couple of deflections. Mark Pugh very nearly got there. Zimmermann slid in to try and win the ball back. It was his trailing leg that made contact with Pugh, who went down and appealed to the referee, but nothing was given. Hull have made their third change of the game, bringing on Chris Martin for Fraser Campbell, while Norwich are about to make their first change. Stiepermann coming off, Moritz Leitner coming on.
So Stiepermann, decent game from him. Again, that goal he got was all down to the enthusiasm and endeavour. He fancied it, and he had the ambition to go for it. Cut inside Henriksen, cut inside the defender, and then left foot lashed it in. Good goal. No stranger to scoring. He looks like a number 9 in terms of shape and size, doesn't he, Stiepermann? But he sort of plays like a ghost 9 or an inside right or left, something like that.
Yeah, we normally associate number 10s with being no bigger than 5'8". He's got a good frame on him as Stiepermann, but he's one of those that, even notwithstanding his size, he's still very comfortable on the ball, can take it forward, got a good touch, can score goals, a very good all-round player, like most of them are for Norwich.
Here come Hull, left-hand side, great ball into the box, and they've got one back, And, it's Martin, doesn't celebrate the goal. Norwich 3, Hull 2. Maybe there's a sting in the tail.
Norwich could be getting nervous now as Hull have pulled another goal back. Once again, it came from absolutely nothing. Good combination down the left between Lehigh and Grzycki, who played a perfect cross into the box. And there was Chris Martin, a good opening contribution from him against his former club to head the ball into the back of the net. Norwich 3, Hull 2.
Yeah, very respectful from Martin. He didn't celebrate that. Imagine if he'd managed to get the equaliser and it cost Norwich to place the top flight. Such things happen, don't they? But anyway, again, out of absolutely nowhere. You know, we talked about the Achilles heel for Norwich, what they're good at, what they're lacking. I don't think the two centre-backs are quite good enough, in my opinion. I think maybe that would require a little bit of work. Equally, I'm not the biggest fan of Tim Krul either, but anyway, I think he's an alright goalkeeper. Here come Hull forward now. Maybe they'll feel that they've got a chance just at the edge of the area. Chance for a cross from the right hand side for Kane. That's a terrible, terrible, terrible ball. Oh dear.
Rush of blood to the head, I think, as he put the ball into the area. Probably didn't quite apprehend how much time and space he had, but really good movement by Chris Martin, who's almost a forgotten man, really, and Norwich are going to react by making another change. Mario Vrancic getting ready, and they're, I think, just going to plan to pack the midfield now.
Yeah, which is something they've not really done. You know, their 4-2-3-1 formations worked a treat. You know, we talked about Nigel Adkins, but what replaced him at Southampton was that Pochettino 4-2-3-1, and you know that had players like Lambert and Rodriguez and made him look like world beaters, didn't it? I mean, honestly. But the formation, you know, he's one of the stars for Norwich as much as the players are. But they might have to break that up just a little bit to try and defend what they've got. We didn't have 1 minute of added time on 45 minutes, did we? As Buendia is the man now who's been replaced. You know, we're closing in on 90 minutes. I wonder. There's been a few goals, a few substitutions. I just wonder, we're going to get probably about 3-4 minutes added time.
Yeah, potentially even more if Norwich are going to waste time with the subs, because they've got another one up the sleeve as well. And you imagine that if they want to make that, they'll make sure the player's right on the opposite side, and he'll have a very slow walk off.
Anyway, we're in lots of excitement in the studios next to us in regard to that Bayern-Liverpool game. Anyway, this game exciting enough for Norwich. They've been walking it twice. They've been walking it 2-0 and then at 3-1, but it's 3-2 now. Here comes Pukki. He hasn't quite finished yet. They're all drifting away from him. And then his shot, he's going to end up going out for a throw. That's how bad that shot was. I mean, everybody peels away. And I'm thinking, hang on, is this the man who's going to get in the team of the season as the lone striker in the championship? Everybody peels away. What are they doing?
I don't know. It's almost as if they're saying, please score a fourth against us. You deserve the goal. It's not quite been Pukki's night, to be honest, but it hasn't had to be, because Norwich have scored 3 other goals themselves. Although, if we'll come down the other end, I think the blame game might be at Pukki for not finishing that off, because he has finished off those kinds of shots this season.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I've been impressed by any of the centre-backs on show tonight. I think Godfrey's played the ball quite well. You know, in fact, doing a bit of his heading, duties defensively. For a man who's only 6 foot tall, I thought he actually got it pretty well. Zimmerman's the bigger man. That's what he's in there for. I haven't seen much of him really today. Burke and Ridgewell have been terrible, I think. Terrible. Anyway, 4 minutes have been put on the clock. Maybe a long 4 minutes. I mean, again, the Norwich fans, just a bit of anxiety, a few nerves. I just wonder, it might be the best Norwich team we've seen for quite some time, but there are holes, gaps that need to be plugged. Here comes Hernandez again. Ball to Pukki. He could go one further. Can't get that ball away in time. Eventually it will break out to the flank. But then it's at one in midfield by Irvine. And, Hull can come again left-hand side. Grzycki flicks that ball back on his inside, gets the return pass. And then he's trying to just flick it down the line. good committed stuff from Tribal, and he puts the ball out of play.
Yeah, and he has had to be committed in this second half. Tribal, I think he's ran off any injury woes that might have befallen him. Good challenge on the near side, but even though you expect Hull to come forward now and really push Norwich, when Norwich come forward, they still look likely to score due to a combination of their good attacking play, Pookie again with a really good touch, and no good Hull defending.
Look at Ridgewell rowing to get back. Pookie puts the ball to the edge of the area, and in the end, Kane only just gets there. Honestly, Ridgewell looks an absolute busted flush out there. But Norwich have the ball, and Hull can't score without it. Zimmerman then drives forward over the halfway line, flicks it out left-hand side for Lewis. He looks for Hernandez. He just runs past his man. Going to run at Burke now. He's got the overlap. The cut back into the box, not good enough. What on earth? What on earth are Hull doing? I mean, they're a joke tonight. They've got the ball now, an opportunity for them. We've got about a minute and a half to go. The ball breaks left-hand side, and they're still going here. Hull just at the edge of the area. Chance for a Pugh for a pot shot, and he smashes it over the top of the crossbar.
Yeah, poor effort from Mark Pugh. Really good run forward by David Milinkovic. It was on that far side. Looks like Rotherham have got a late winner. Very, very late winner at QPR. It was 1-1 in that game. But I don't know what Todd Kane was doing, but just the fact that Hull allowed Norwich to get so many in there, and I think because of that, Norwich got a bit complacent. They thought they could walk the ball in the back of the net as they made a late change themselves. Hernandez off, centre half, Tim Close on.
Yeah, Tim Close, a big guy. I've seen him before. And I think we've seen him in the Premier League, haven't we, at some point?
Well, it was for Norwich in their last spell there.
Yeah, not for long. Anyway, Norwich 3, Hull 2. And we're into that final minute. Nervous minute for Norwich. But let's face it, I mean, they should have scored an avalanche tonight. Long ball out for a Hull out the right-hand side, but it's going to go out. Will be a throw power with the edge of the area. You know, Milinkovic applauds that, and at least they've got Norwich penned in the corner. Can they keep them there? Can they nick the ball? I mean, last chance saloon really for Hull. This Norwich take a lot of time with their throw. You know, and in the end, time and then more time for Jamal Lewis. He takes his throw, headed up in the air, and then he breaks to Pookie, who holds on to it. Then he's robbed of the ball by Irvine. Flicks percentage ball forward, and then Closer puts it into the stand. Hull have got to throw power with the edge of the air. We've hit 94 minutes. This got to be the last action of the game. Norwich don't want to give the ball back. Certainly the fans don't. Up comes the keeper, Marshall, now. This is last chance saloon.
Yeah, long throwing coming in from Eric Lehigh, I think.
So, it's going to be the last action of the game. And he hasn't got a particularly long run up there, has he, with the advertising holding so close in. You have to bend his little run here. Puts the ball in. Up go the heads. Irvine gets the first head too, but he's got to head it backwards. Milinkovic flicks it back in. The ball breaks for Norwich. They've dealt with the danger. And maybe an opportunity now for Pookie. Marshall comes out, plays a bit of football, slants it down the ground, but Norwich have got their victory. The referee blows the final whistle. Norwich 3, Hull 2.